Good, good, good. All right. Well, welcome. Welcome, 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 everyone. Thank you so much for being with me here today on this Saturday, the 24th of October, 2020. All right. And so I'm very happy and I'm very excited. And I want to, I really want to welcome each of you to today's event. Okay, here's the problem, everybody. All right. We're living in a world, we're living in a coronavirus-infected world where whenever any of us sneezes, whenever anybody comes too close to another person, now they're a threat. Does that make sense? We live in a world where everyone is afraid of everyone else. We also live in a country, the United States, that views immigrants as others. People here in the United States views immigrants as threats, as dangerous, as bad, as problems, as criminals, as people not to be trusted. All right? Really, the citizens of the United States are afraid of immigrants. They don't know what I know. They don't know that many immigrants are some of the most trustworthy people in the world. They don't know that many immigrants would gladly take the shirt off of their back, right, to help someone else. That many immigrants are incredibly generous with their friends, with their families, with their loved ones, incredibly trustworthy, not someone to be afraid of. But the typical, I'll say, white, typical voting American citizen doesn't necessarily know that. I want to change that. And in order to change that, I need your help. I want to work to changing the understanding of American citizens of immigrants. And I need your help to do that. So are you ready to work with me towards that? Yeah? Good. So how do we do that? How? Right? That's a big undertaking. All right? How do we change the tide? How do we create trust and cultivate relationships where we're in a world that's fundamentally distrusting and afraid? This is what I want to resolve with you all today. All right? The answer is, let's focus on how to cultivate trusting relationships. And that's what I want to look at today, and I'll tell you why it matters. Okay? Really, if we can do this, all right, if we can know how to cultivate trusting relationships like that in our lives, I mean, if your boss trusts you more, you'll get paid more. All right? Think about it. If your lawyer or your paralegals or your service that you're working with trusts you, right, you'll likely receive better service. If an immigration judge trusts that you're going to be a good contributing member of society, you're going to be more likely to win your case. All right? If the people in your family, your spouse, your kids trust you, you will be happier. If you start a business, if you have clients, if you work with people, and if the people you work with, your clients, your customers, trust you more, all right, they'll be happier to work with you. They'll refer their family to you. They'll help you become more successful. It's a give and take relationship. And if you can master it, you can achieve much more success in every area of your life. Good. All right, so here we go. To start, we're going to start with what we call our 90-day look back. And so our 90-day look back is like, okay, this is like time to participate. I want everybody to think about, where were you 90 days ago? You know, this is our second Client Success Summit. The last one was back in July, all right? And so, you know, in that first Client Success Summit, we defined success. We discussed how to achieve success in our lives. And now here we are, 3 months later, all right? And so during these past 90 days, what good things have happened in your life? What can you share? What can we celebrate with you today? Right? Is there something that you took on in your life? Was there a victory? What did you accomplish? Well, heck, maybe I'll share one that I did. So for me, last weekend, I did a triathlon. That was the longest, furthest, most physical triathlon I've ever done in my whole life. And so I feel good. I survived it. I am stronger now than ever. So anyway, that's one thing that I'm happy that I accomplished that just last Saturday. A half Ironman, if people are interested in knowing. So now we are going to get into the main theme. We're doing great. We're doing great. I'm glad everybody's with me. Now we're going to get into the main theme of this morning, and that is, how do we make stronger our relationships? How do we build relationships with more trust in them? And the truth is that life is made better with relationships, all right? In fact, we human beings are social creatures. Our biology, our minds require social interaction for our survival. We actually require we require the relationship with our parents, obviously, when we're infants, for our survival. But from infancy and onward, we crave, need human interaction. All right? To start thinking of the interactions and the relationships that we have, what I would like everyone to think about is to start by thinking of the different groups that we are members of in our lives. You know, you might have a group of your friends. You might have a group that is your family. You might have a group that, you know, maybe is the people at your work. You might have a group that's the people in your neighborhood, right? You might have a group of people that are like colleagues or people that you've met that do similar job that you do, all right? Or there might be some other, you know, maybe like church, or like an organization that you work at, or maybe there's a soccer team you play on. What are all of the different groups that you belong to? Take a minute, write them down, think about it. I want you to ask yourself the question, how do you contribute to each of those groups? And I want you to ask the question, what do you get from each of those groups. So, all right, so we've got our list now, right? We've got our list of the different groups. Which is the group that you currently enjoy the most? Which is the group that you get the most out of right now? Is it your family or isn't it? Is it your work or isn't it? Is it your, I don't know, group of friends or isn't it? And why do you think that is? All right? Just think about it. All right? Which is the group that you currently enjoy the least? All right? Which is the group you currently enjoy the least? You know, you feel like every time you go there, people are mad at you or judging you or, or you feel like you're not yourself. All right? Why do you think you enjoy that group the least? All right? Often, the groups that fulfill us are meeting one or more of our human needs. Okay? We all have needs. I can go into them. All right? We have needs for certainty. We have needs for security. We have needs for significance. We need to feel like we mean something. We have a need for love. We have a need for growth. We have a need for contribution. All right? Some of our groups might be contributing to those big 6 human needs more than others. Some of those groups might not really be needing them, and maybe we're on our way out of that group. All right? Let me ask you a question. Why do you think gangs are so strong and so effective at what they do? Many of our clients come from parts of the world where there are gangs, criminal organizations that are basically terrorizing and killing and trafficking drugs and creating insane amount of violence. And why do you think they are so strong, like they can go head to head against militaries? All right? And why do you think they're so effective? I would say, if you want to know what I would say it's because they are meeting the needs of people. They are a group that is meeting the needs of people. There are people who are isolated. There are people who don't feel connected to their parents at all. Maybe they were abused by their parents. All right? There are people who are growing up feeling completely alone. But if you enter a gang, now all of a sudden you've got your identity. Now all of a sudden you can feel certain of who you are. Now all of a sudden you can feel like you're significant and you mean something. Now all of a sudden you've got a group. Something to think about. We all have groups. We all have groups. We all depend on them. All right? And they can either bring us up or bring us down. All right? They can either serve us or destroy us. And I want us to think about it, because if we join a great group, it'll move us up towards the success that we want. And if we're inside of a toxic group, it can lead to our demise. All right, did that just make sense? All right, that's it. So questions to ask, all right? What could you do to grow the relationships in your groups? I'm assuming, all right, that your groups are healthy. And I want you to contribute to them to make them healthier. So what could you do to grow your relationships within your groups? Like, what could you do to contribute more to the people in those groups? All right, call them up. Hey, let's grab some coffee. Hey, let's go for a walk. Hey, let's go play soccer. All right? You know, let's go sing karaoke. I love that. That's great. All right? Yeah, what could we do? Awesome. Juan says comunicación. That's right. Let's get into communication. Absolutely. My second question is there a group that is missing for you? Is there a group that you might consider joining? All right, that could maybe take you to the next level. All right, and so, you know, if there is, maybe write that down as well. Right? You might, you know, maybe you want to join, I don't know, some new breakfast of people that, I mean, we're in the middle of COVID, but maybe not a breakfast, but something virtual, right? Virtual group of people who are, you know, buying houses, maybe, you know, if you want to learn how to do that, or a virtual group of people who are learning to start new businesses or something like that. You could do that. All right, can everybody still hear me? All right, we're good. Awesome. So now I want to talk about a specific group that we all have. All right, we were just talking about it for a second ago, and that is our family. All right, family is a special group. All right, and because we all have one of some sort or another, we sometimes have challenges within our families. I'll say it's also special for this group that we have right here because family sometimes leads to immigration cases. All right? If a U.S. citizen gets married, a U.S. citizen can file a petition for their spouse. If, you know, if we win someone's case and now they become a citizen, now they can petition for their parents sometimes. They can take care of their family in other ways during the process. All right? And at the same time, there are family issues that can lead to immigration benefits. And by that, I mean bad stuff. All right? Domestic violence can lead to an immigration benefit. Other family problems, abuse, neglect, abandonment, things like that are serious problems, they can lead to immigration solutions. All right? My question for everyone here is, how do you relate to your family? All right? How do you relate to your family? And the real question is, how do you want to relate to your family? And what steps could you take to improve your contribution to your family? And write those down. All right? We've got the holidays coming up. You know, now's the time. There's nothing like the present. And if you want to make a difference in your level of contribution to your family, I mean, you have the power to do that. And I want now to turn our focus to examine our intimate relationships, all right? And I want to talk about love, all right? So we all need love. There's like all kinds of science behind why love is important in enhancing our human experience. Without love, things might seem okay, but they might be a little dull and boring. With love, things will seem more vibrant. You will find more passion. Things will be more exciting. When love is lost, things can seem horrible, depressing, angry, unfair, bad, right? The thing about love is it magnifies our human experience. And it's a very, what would life be without it? All right? And so where are we at in our love lives? And if we can improve where we're at in our love lives, oh my gosh, the whole rest of our lives just seem to feel so much better. At the top of the pyramid is it says, I am in a relationship where there is love, intimacy, and passion, and I feel fully self-expressed. I'll say it again. At the very tip top, it says, I'm in a relationship where there is love, there's intimacy and passion, and I feel fully self-expressed. One level down from that says, I'm in a relationship where there is love, there's intimacy and passion, but our communication is not where it could be. So I don't feel fully self-expressed, or I don't feel fully understood. One level down from that, I am in a relationship where there is love and intimacy, but there is no longer passion, and I don't feel self-expressed. All right? Maybe there's not the excitement that you used to have. All right? One level below that, I am in a relationship where our love is not where it used to be. We no longer share intimacy or passion, and I don't feel fully self-expressed. Okay? One level below that, I'm in a relationship, but I want out. One level below that, I am not in a relationship, and I want to be in one. And one level below that, I am not in a relationship, and I don't want to be in one. Does all this make sense? Think, where are you? My question is, where do you see yourself? Where do you find yourself? All right, Juan says he's on top. Awesome. I also am very happy to say I'm on top. All right? But I haven't always been. And my guess is those who are on top know that they haven't always been there also. All right? And so, great. Think about where you're at on this. That's, hey, life, we just got one shot at it, right? The present moment is really all we got. So take advantage if you want to take advantage. All right? So here's the thing, all right? I've personally been at every level on that pyramid. All right? I've loved, I've lost love. All right? I've been in relationships, I've been sick of relationships. All right? And now I've been married for 11 years, and we have 2 beautiful kids. And my wife's awesome. My wife's awesome. And it is very attainable to have a mutual relationship that doesn't just work, but it's like a freaking awesome, outstanding relationship. Very possible. You can totally do it. I want you and encourage you to go for it. All right, very good. So, all right, take a few minutes. Take a few minutes. And I want you, this is dangerous. This is dangerous, but I'm going there. All right. Take a few minutes, and I want you to literally dream, fantasize in your mind, all right, whatever and however you wish your intimate relationship were. Think about it. Write it down. Write it down. Make a plan, And please don't say, whatever. I'm not going to say don't say. Say whatever you want to say. All right? Say whatever you want to say. It's your life, it's your dream, it's your vision. But if you're going to create that as your vision, really create it as your vision and then look for it in your life and look to create it in your current relationship or if your current relationship isn't serving you, in a different one. All right? So things to think about. How much passion is there? How much? You know? How much joy is there? How much life is there? All right? And so I want you to do that, and now, and then I really do. I want you to do that. Take some time. Take, you know, gosh, if your intimate relationship isn't worth 5 minutes of your time, then that's a problem. All right? So take 5 minutes and really write down, and you can do it right there in the notebook. What is your ideal relationship? What does it look like? All right? You know, I think what I was just saying to Juan was precious, and I think I just said it in Spanish. And so I'd like to just say really quick that what he has put in our chat here is that he loves his relationship, and he is sad that, like, he basically wishes that they were the same age, because there's an age difference, all right? And he feels like his partner might not be around too much longer, is what it sounds like. And what I was saying is, hey, you know, first of all, we're all very fortunate if we're in that situation where we have a partner that we love that much. And second of all, it's like tomorrow's never guaranteed. And we're all put on this planet for a temporary amount of time. And heck, we could all, you know, I could be killed in a car accident on my way home right now today. All right? And you could too. And so the truth is that we do not know how much time we have on planet Earth here together. And it doesn't matter how much time we have here on planet Earth here together. What matters is what we're going to do when, what we're going to do now. What we're going to do when, what we're going to do today. All right? Because tomorrow's not guaranteed, not for you, not for me, not for anybody. And so let's make the most out of our relationships today. Good. And so we talked about what the ideal is. All right? And now I want us to think about some of the things that might get in the way of the ideal. Because sometimes there might be blaming. Sometimes there might be controlling. All right? Sometimes there's something that has not been said. Sometimes there's something in the past that happened that you haven't gotten over. All right? And those are the things to work on to make a relationship thrive better. Okay? So I'm hoping that everybody can hear me okay. And so there, it's like, okay, let's start to work on it. You know, start to work on it now. Start to work on it today. When you see your partner, your spouse, whatever, you know, start to work on it. You know, if you want that better relationship, then freaking go for it. All right? And so as you do, and as you get into communication about those things, you will improve your relationship and you will improve the quality of your life. We've talked about all kinds of relationships today. We've talked about the groups that we have in our lives. We've talked about family. We've talked about our intimate relationships. All right? So great. Now, we haven't really talked about how do we really improve them. If we want to improve every one of those relationships, that's a different conversation. Because one thing is to see where we're at with our relationships. A very other thing is to see, okay, how do we grow? How do we push? How do we get what we want from them, for them, in them, right? The three big things, the first one is communication. All right? So let's talk about communication. If you want to improve your relationships, you've got to improve your skill at communication. All right? And now how do we do that? All right. This is something that I've received a lot of training on. I've received training on it for the business. I've received personal development training on this. I want everybody to hear what I'm about to say. If you want to improve your communication skills, which I hope everyone does, the way to do it is to not improve your speaking and instead improve your listening. I'm going to say it again. You want to improve your communication. Do not focus on improving your speaking. Yeah, we can all say things more clearly. That's true. But don't focus on that. If you want to really improve your communication, focus on improving your listening. All right. I'm gonna go into that in a little bit more profound of a way. Most people don't really fully listen. Most people don't. Most people were never taught how. All right? We hear things that other people say to us, our partner, anybody. We hear something coming into our ears, but at the same time we hear it, our mind is thinking. Our mind is automatically thinking, and we're like often judging what the other person is saying even before they've stopped talking. Does that make sense? All right? We're often defending ourselves from what the other person is going to say even before they've said it. All right? We're often finding our next answer, the next thing that we're going to say, even before it's our turn to speak. All right? And that means that we're often not fully present to what and to how the other person is talking to us and to what they're trying to say to us. Let me say it like this. Imagine that you're at work and your boss comes up and tells you that you just made a mistake. Right? Imagine that's the scenario. You're at work, your boss comes up and tells you, hey, you just made a mistake. Right? And imagine in your mind, you're thinking to yourself. You're not saying it, you're thinking to yourself, oh, this jerk, he has no idea how hard I work. He doesn't see all the good things I do. He just walks in after weeks of my slaving away. He finds one little thing that's wrong, and that's all that he points out, right? And this dialogue starts to happen. I mean, just imagine this dialogue is happening inside of a person's mind, all right? But the thing is that while that dialogue is happening, you're not really listening. You're too busy judging, defending, resisting to really listen to anything that's being said. Okay, so now imagine, all right? Imagine that instead of all of that, your boss comes in and says, hey, you made a mistake, all right? And imagine instead you think about it. You say nothing. You say nothing in your mind, all right? And you just think about it, and you said, wow, you know something, boss? Thanks, you're right. Yeah? You're right. I could improve that piece, and I really appreciate the feedback. I'll do better next time. Yeah? And you might even add, oh, and by the way, I really appreciate this job, and I want to do it well. And so if you ever have any other feedback or any other idea for how I could improve what I'm up to, like, let me know right away. You know? That's communication. That's communication. That is like really not getting frustrated and not getting all in our head by what the other person just said. All right, so really it's like first listen, but listen without judging. All right, without judging in our minds. Listen without defending or controlling or justifying or anything else. Listen with a blank mind. And if we could do that, oh my gosh, if we can do that, we can be powerful communicators. All right? And I'd love for you to practice that. And I'd love for you to practice that with a difficult conversation. You know, if you're willing, go to your partner, go to your spouse or your significant other, go later today or tonight or right now on our lunch break and ask them a question. Ask them, how can I be a better partner? How can I be a better spouse? How can I just, whatever. You can say, how can I do the dishes better? You can ask anything. What's feedback that would actually make a difference for that person? And then turn off the mind and just listen. Just listen without any thought in your head. And I'm wondering if you will do that. And I'm wondering if you're, just willing to give it a try. Because do give it a try. It can really make a difference for your quality of life, for your quality of relationships. Machismo, if you've got that in you, and you likely know that you do if you've got it in you, right? It makes it very difficult. Having machismo makes it very difficult to listen. All right? It does. It makes it very difficult to listen because machismo is all about I've got to be right. All right? It's all about I've got to be right, which actually, if you want to know the truth, it's based on an insecurity. It's based on an insecurity, and in order to be right, the machista has to be in control. And in order to be in control, you can't really listen because you're the one that's got to put the agenda out there. All right? Which means that a person who's really got machismo, they're never really listening. And the problem is machismo actually destroys relationships. It destroys your relationships. All right? And so if you know yourself to have that inside of you, one, your intimate relationships probably are not where you want them to be. And two, I encourage you, I highly recommend for you to work on that, to overcome it, to learn to surpass it. Realize where it comes from, which often it comes from your youth, all right? It's impossible to be truly intimate with a machista, all right? And because that very nature, it kills the self-expression of the partner. So big thing number 2 that has an effect of improving all of our relationships is something called integrity. All right? If we can improve our integrity, we can also improve the quality of our relationships. So let me ask you a question. Have you ever said that you were going to do something and then you didn't do it? Yeah? If you have, that is a very human thing to do, and you're not alone, and I've been there as well, and what there is to say about it, though, is that whenever you say you're going to do something and then you don't, it damages integrity, your integrity, and you undermine the relationship that you made that commitment to. All right? And so it's important to be aware of it. And so the way to fix that, because it's inevitable that it will happen, but the way to fix that is to acknowledge wherever you are out of integrity, all right? For example, you might just say, hey, I'm sorry for what I did, or I'm sorry for what I didn't do, and I know that it damaged your trust in me, and your trust in me means something to me, and I'm committed to making sure to not let that thing get in the way in the future. And so I won't do it again, and I'm here to rebuild our relationship, and let's do it. You know, let's move on. All right. Well, so here's the thing. What is integrity? Basically, integrity is following through on our commitments. We say we're going to do something, we do it. All right? We say we're not going to do something, we don't do it. I'm not going to, you know, stay out until 5 in the morning tonight. I'm not going to go drink a bunch of alcohol with my friends. Instead, I am going to, you know, be home by 10:30 and, you know, I'm going to tuck my children into bed. Whatever. Whatever you say, then that's what you end up doing that. If you can get to that point where what you say you're going to do is what you actually do, then your life will work better. All right? It's like, you know, I was trained on this topic from a company called Landmark, and they explain it really well. They explain it as like when you make promises and then you don't do them, it's like a wheel, all right? It's like a wheel of a bicycle, but with broken spokes. It's wobbly, and things don't work very well. But when you make a promise and you stick with it, then yeah, that wheel's whole, and it'll go, and it'll work. All right? And your life will work better. And so, you know, where in your life have you been out of integrity? And you could look at the groups that we looked at. All right? Where have you been out of integrity? You said you were going to do something, you didn't do it. You said you were going to do something, and you didn't do it 100%. All right? Right? Where were you out of integrity with each of those groups? And then just start getting into a conversation. Start restoring the integrity with each of those people. All right? And you get into communication with them and take real responsibility for what you did do or what you didn't do. And ask them, how was it for them? You know? That's like an apology. What was it for them? Well, how did it feel when I said I would get this thing done and I didn't get it done? You know? Oh, that made you have to work extra to get it done to cover for me. Oh, I got it. Sorry about that. You know? Here, this is what I'll do. I'll work extra to cover you next time. And then do it. Right? That way you can all be, that way everything can be good. And, you know, I don't know, maybe I said that I would start all meetings on time and have an agenda, all right? And then maybe today I started my meeting 5 minutes late, and I didn't have an agenda. I was unprepared, all right? And when that happens, you know, the impact on me is I feel less professional. And our whole office started late. And, you know, it's good to ask them what the impacts it was on them. Like maybe they were late to their appointments. All right? And maybe there was a client that needed service early and we weren't able to do that service, so now it's causing an impact on other people. All right? And then we can listen. Okay, I got it. I got the impact. Oh my gosh. Going forward, I'm not going to do that anymore. Going forward, my meetings are going to be on time, and I'm going to have an agenda, and I'm going to be prepared, and we're going to get out of there. All right? Okay, great. Right? That's just an example. The type of conversation about integrity and the impact of it. And it can really make your work better. It can make your home life work better. It can make all parts of your life work better. And if you improve integrity, I would say that you could also improve your worth, meaning your money, which we'll get into. The third thing to improve relationships is one word, all right? It's one word, and it's a beautiful word, and it's a powerful word, and it's just this: forgiveness. The third way to fix and to improve and to grow relationships is forgiveness. And the question there is, who in your life have you not fully forgiven? And maybe it's worth making a full list of that. Who all in your life have you not forgiven? Dad, I haven't forgiven you for this. Mom, I haven't forgiven you for this. Grandma, I never forgave you for that. Right? Brother, I never forgave you for this. Sister, I never forgave you for this. It could be a big list. For some of us, it could be a very big list. Right? If you want to be free from it so that it doesn't continue to haunt you anymore or haunt the relationship anymore, call the person up and say, hey, you know something? I'm sorry, I never forgave you for this. Right now, right here, I forgive you. You know? And maybe it's impossible. You might say, look, my father's dead. You know? Maybe it's impossible. You might say your father's dead, or, you know, or maybe not. But one thing that I do want to say is, you know, fathers, mothers, where there's abuse, I believe that most people are trying to do their best. I believe that most people are trying to do the best that they know how to do. There's a lot of ignorance in the world, all right? And there's a lot of mistakes that are being made. And there's a lot of, you know, I don't know, people that maybe should have known better, all right? But I also want you to consider that not forgiving that person doesn't actually hurt that person as much as it hurts you. The person who does not forgive is the person who actually is affected by it. So the last word that I'll say on that, or the last kind of thing I'll say about that, is if you want to take on a new life, forgive everyone, blame no one, start over today, and you yourself will feel a lot less pain. All right, that's my opinion, and you have the control to do it. All right, we're done with like our huge theme for today on relationships. We're done. That's it. We've learned 3 major, huge strategies to improving any relationship in our lives. And like, it's now just a question of taking that on and doing it. And, you know, good. So that's great. Before we move on, are there any questions from anyone, or is there anything that anyone wants to say? All right? Because we're going to transition into talking about money. And I'm going to point out how the 2 conversations actually do go hand in hand. All right, awesome, you guys. Well, thank you. So, all right. Well, I really appreciate your being with me, and thanks for everything that, thanks for everyone's contributions. This has been great. And so now we're going to transition, and we're going to start to talk about money. All right? And money is interesting because money, in a lot of ways, is affected by everything that we've talked about today. In other words, if you can communicate better, you can make more money. If you have higher integrity, you can make more money. If you forgive everybody and don't let all of that stuff get in your mind, in my opinion, you can make more money. All right? And so just food for thought. And now, what I want to talk about, so money was a topic that we talked about last time as well, and I want to give a quick refresher of what we talked about in our last Client Success Summit, just so we're all on the same page, all right? When we talk money, we're actually really talking about 4 numbers, all right? What are the 4 big numbers? If you want to write them down, you could write them down. They are income, which is how much money you make. They are expenses, which is how much money you spend. They are assets, which is what you own. And they are debts, which is what you owe. All right? If we understand those 4 big numbers, then we'll pretty much understand your financial situation. And it's important to start with that. To build wealth, there's basically 2 steps. Now that we know those numbers, all right, the key to building wealth is basically a 2-step process. Step 1 is spend less than you earn. I'll say that again. Step 1, if you want to build wealth, spend less than you earn. Have your income be greater than your expenses. All right? And step 2 is invest the difference. And what do you invest in? Well, education. Well, really, at the end of the day, you're using the difference to pay down debt and to buy assets. If you do that, you'll build wealth. All right? Step 1, spend less than you earn. Step 2, use that difference. It might just be a $50 difference every month, right? And it'll go and be growing a little bit and a little bit over time, and use that money to pay down debt and to buy assets, and you will build wealth. So we've talked about the we've talked about the 4 numbers related to money. All right, we've talked about income, expenses, assets, and debts. All right. The question, though, often for our clients is, how do I make more? How do I increase the income, which is that first number? Sometimes we look at the situation, it's very difficult to eliminate expenses. And sometimes it's a question of how do we increase income? All right? And so really, if you want to know what that question is about, really it's a question of how can I give more value? Because money, what money really is money is a tool. It is, you could call it paper, right? But it's often electronic these days. It's more than just currency, all right? Money is a tool that is used to communicate an exchange of value. And so if you want to make more, the question is, okay, where can I give more value? Where can I give more value? You know, and so sometimes the advice is, hey, if you've got a job, you know, could you arrive earlier? Could you have a better attitude at your work? Could you figure out a way to improve your integrity at the job, like get everything done at the exact time you said it would be done? Can you make sure you're incredibly reliable? Can you study the subject of your skills so well, develop your own skills so well that you're like nothing short of outstanding at performing the job? All right? Can you grow your communication skills? Can you look people in the eye? Can you smile, right? It's like think of every issue that keeps your employer or your clients up at night. You know, if you have a job, think of every issue that keeps your employer up at night and think of how you can help that person hit that person's objectives. And if you don't have a job but you have a business, then think of your clients and think about every issue that's keeping your clients up at night, and think about how you could contribute, how you could add value, how you could like do something to help that person reach their objectives. That is the way. By increasing value, it opens the door. It doesn't solve the issue, but it opens the door to be able to do the very last thing, which is required to make more money, and that last thing is to ask. All right? So one, you got to provide more value, but two, you got to ask for more money. And sometimes the ask, all right, is, I mean, this is biblical, right? Ask and you shall what? But you got to be comfortable, right? You got to be comfortable asking, and you got to come from a place where it's like, hey, I know I'm providing the value. And then you gotta be willing to get vulnerable, to be honest, to be clear, to get right into the conversation and ask a question. And, you know, if you're a client of my office, at some point I've asked you for money. Otherwise you wouldn't be a client of my office, right? With a couple of possible exceptions, right? Maybe I asked somebody else for money. But it's like, you know, it's an exchange. And the same exchange happens between you and other people in your environment, between you and your boss, between you and other people that are relationships with you. So now now I want to mix our conversations from this morning about relationships with our conversations this afternoon about money and finances. All right? This morning we talked about all the different groups that we belong to and how we contribute to the groups in our lives. All right? Our friends, people at work, you know, people in our neighborhood, our families. Okay? What I want you to consider now, and this is, you know, this is what I would say is an exercise that you want to take it seriously, and don't let it mean too much. All right? Take it back, take a step back, look at each of your groups, and what I would like you to do is I would like you to think about how each of the groups in your lives talks about money. How does your family talk about money? How do, you know, your friends? How do your if your friends see somebody who drives a really nice car or something like that, what do they say? Right? What language do the groups that you're a member of use to describe money? What language did your family use to describe money when you were a kid? And I'll tell you, just personally, I was all messed up as a kid. I shouldn't call it like that. And I love my parents, and I had a wonderful relationship with my parents. But I grew up very much learning that money was the root of all evil. And I wonder, did you learn that too? Yeah? And I wonder, is it true? Let me ask you some questions. You know, did you ever hear, for example, or do you hear still, that, quote unquote, money doesn't grow on trees? Do you hear that? Money doesn't grow on trees. Yeah? Do you hear that money is the root of all evil? Do you hear things like a penny saved is a penny earned? Do you hear, those are all kind of common, super common statements about money, right? Did you hear growing up that just straight up, no, we can't afford it? You know, how many times did you say, hey, I want that? And somebody says, no, we can't afford it. All right? Or worse, did you ever ask for something and hear something like, no, you're not worth it? You know, what did your family say growing up? And how do your current groups talk about money? Because here's the thing. Each one of those statements, every single one of them, is flawed in some way. Each of them is flawed in some way because basically what they're saying is they're coming from a place of scarcity. They are saying that there's not very much money going around. All right? When we say a penny saved is a penny earned, yeah, that's absolutely true. But why say it? Right? It's like there is the idea behind it is there is a scarcity. And so we would be wise to save even our little pennies. All right? Similar to say, money doesn't grow on trees. I mean, much of it actually comes from a cotton bush, if we're talking about actual currency. So it kind of does. It kind of does. All right? But the idea of the words money doesn't grow on trees, it comes from a mindset. It comes from a philosophy of there's scarcity. The world doesn't have enough. And if that's your mindset, it was mine too. All right? And if that's your mindset, it might be affecting the amount of money that you have. And so it's good to examine it. And my point isn't to make that wrong or right or anything like that. My point today is let's examine it, all right? And so thanks for examining it. Here's the truth about money, all right? The purpose of money is simple. It is a tool, like we talked about. It is used to show value. It is used to show appreciation for an exchange. All right? There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing evil about it. All right? If you really look at the Bible quote, if you want me to get biblical, it doesn't say money is evil. All right? It says coming to like love money. The love of money is the full quote, is the root of all evil. Which is like, yeah, you don't want to love your money. You want to love the things, the positive contributions you can do with it. All right? And the other thing about the concept of scarcity, it's simply inaccurate. There are over $50 trillion of dollars in circulation on our planet Earth. All right? There are oceans and oceans and oceans of money circulating our planet. All right? Some people go up to the ocean with like a little teeny tiny, thimble-sized cup, and say, oh, this is all I get. All right? Other people go up to the ocean with like a tanker truck sized, saying, hey, fill me up. All right? And they've got more abundance and more success when it comes to their finances. But on some level, it's up to you to decide how much of a bucket, cup, truck, whatever, you're going to take to that ocean. It's up to you. And you can build it. And you've got time to build it. And you've got a whole life ahead of you. And it's never too late to get started. And you can do it. And it is possible. All right? And it's like, you know, I very much believe in success. I believe that every human being is capable of really achieving whatever success they want. All right? So the next conversation that I want to have is about health. All right? We've talked about relationships. We've talked about money. Let's talk about health. We are in the middle of a pandemic. As of yesterday, 8,387,047 individuals in the United States have got or have had COVID-19. All right? And 222,447 people have died of it. Okay? And so, you know, on the one hand, in a country of 328 million people, fortunately, it's less than 1% of our population has died of COVID-19. So that's good. Most people have recovered from it, but there are still cases happening. And I know people who have died of it. All right? And you probably do too. And so, you know, that's happening. And here's the thing. I don't want you to die. All right? I don't. And this is a virus that attacks our respiratory system. It attacks our lungs and our ability to breathe. Okay? And so I want you to start building your immune system. And I want you to start building your respiratory system so that your body is as healthy as it can possibly be so that you survive this thing. All right? And that's obviously, you know, nobody can guarantee that we'll survive anyway. We're all going to die one day anyway, all right? But we might as well freaking maintain our bodies as healthy as we possibly can. So how do I recommend doing that? I mean, I recommend 5 things. 1, eat more plants, all right? Plants are good things. They're like straight from the earth, right? 1, eat more plants. Less carbs, less breads, less sugars, less refined stuff, and more green vegetables. My second tip, get more exercise. Get some kind of exercise every single day. All right? My third tip is drink more water. I think we drink too much coffee as a society. I think we drink way too much soda as a society. Great. Drink more water. I think water is like very clean and good for our systems. My fourth thing, get better sleep. And my fifth thing is breathe. And by that, we did a breathing exercise earlier this morning. You know, take some minutes. Breathe, meditate, walk, do yoga, whatever you want to do. Just take your health seriously. All right? We can't be our best with our relationships in our lives unless we have energy for our relationships. All right? We can't deliver the value that we want to deliver at work unless we can bring our energy to our work. All right? Like the conversation about health is like, how can we have better energy to live life more fully? And that's how. All right? Eat more plants, exercise more, drink more water, get better sleep, get more oxygen inside your body, breathe. You take on those 5 things, like just make a plan, like set something up. So my last thing for today is our election, all right? Because we are in the process of electing a new or the same president, right? So we have an election coming up, and my opinion about it is that this election is dividing people in a pretty scary amount. Yeah, it's like I think that people are feeling more isolated, more divided, more like put into a box than maybe ever before, you know? And we talked about it this morning, communication. I really think that people are not listening to each other right now. Like they're not. People are just so quick to judge, so quick to blame, so quick to like defend their own positions. Like somebody's talking and we're here defending our position without even really hearing what the other person's saying. And it doesn't work. It's not healthy at all. All right? And what I want for each of us is that, hey, you know, even if we disagree about who would be the best person to be in the White House, even if we disagree about that, we can still be friends. We can still be people. We can still like talk and hang out, right? It doesn't need to destroy our ability to connect as people. All right? And so what I really want is I want us all to continue to push our own communication skills, to be better at communicating for ourselves so that we can be in communication with people even when there's disagreements. Okay? And I want to challenge all of us. All right? I want to challenge all of us. You know, if Trump wins, if Biden wins, I'm going to be grateful no matter what. You know? I love my life. I love my life. I actually love this country. I love my job. I love the people I get to work with. I love the people we get to serve, our clients. Like there's so many like beautiful things around me. I would be I'd be a hypocrite if I felt ungrateful for one day, even if there's some other dude sleeping in the White House. All right? The guy in the White House does not determine my own level of gratitude. And I hope it doesn't determine your level of gratitude for your life either. Really, you know, let's stop allowing politics to divide us. And let's stay united. Let's stay united as friends, as people, as human beings, as people who are walking towards our own successes on planet Earth. All right, that's kind of what I want to share.